Okay. So today we're going to talk about why Phil Hellmuth is the GOAT, the greatest of all time, the best in the world. So basically, in this new era of poker that we're in right now, um, people believe in the solvers. They believe in the math. They believe that if I do this and do this and do this and do this, this percentage of the time that I'm making a positive EV play, and enough of those added up will beat the guy no matter what in the long run and all that shit. So basically, this guy, he doesn't study the solvers. He doesn't study the. I mean, he knows the math of the game, but very well. But he's not reliant on just the percentages and all that shit. So, um, in terms of like doing something a certain percentage of the time or whatever, like some people will call a raise on the river because a certain percentage of the time they're going to be winning, even if it's a small percentage of the time. And he'll decide to fold instead, and that's what makes him different, is that he finds a fold in spots that other people can't find a fold. He finds a call in other spots that people can't find a call. But the problem is that even the professionals, people like Daniel, who I think is number 3 in the world, but even Daniel doesn't understand that this guy is on another level. His instinct, and his feel, his read, these are all things that separate him from your average player. And not only that, but he understands the fundamentals of the game very well. As you know what I'm saying? So like, he is just the all-around, best player I've ever seen. So let's dive into some statistics that place Phil Hellmuth in the discussion for the greatest player of all time. Okay. He's won 17 World Series of Poker bracelets. A World Series of Poker bracelet is one of the biggest accomplishments a poker player can achieve. It is, after all, the world's biggest and most prestigious tournament in poker. Phil Hellmuth is the world leader. With his record, he holds a 6-bracelet lead in front of Phil Ivey, who I think is number 2 in the world in terms of skill. But anyways, he's got 14 second place finishes, which means that Phil Hellmuth has been heads up for a bracelet 31 times, winning 17. Nobody else has this record. Not even close. Then, and I watched these matches, okay? I watched hours and hours of play. I stayed up, even on a work night and everything, watching these matches. And it became the Phil Hellmuth show. And first off, Antonio came into the match thinking he was a favorite, and like a big favorite, which just means that they completely underestimate this guy. They have no idea who they are fucking with. They have no clue that this is a master of the game. They have no respect for his play. But anyways, Phil went 3-0 against Esfandiari in the high stakes dual heads up matches. 3 in a row. And if you watch those matches, Phil dominated. Got in his head. Had him doing stupid shit. Made the right call when it was time. I mean, just did everything right. Daniel. Phil went 3-0 against Daniel. Same format. Daniel came into the match declaring, "This is going to be a landslide victory coming my way," and he pointed at himself or some shit like that. And I will admit, there was a good portion of the first round where Daniel was doing very well. And he got Phil down to like 3K or something like that. And he's sitting on 97, and he couldn't finish it out. He couldn't close him out. And Phil came back, clawed his way back, then he doubled up. And then he's back in the match. Came back, won that whole thing. And that is the power of not giving up. I've learned that from Phil Hellmuth. Anybody else in the world would have given up at that point. But Phil did not give up. And I remember Daniel saying something like, "Oh, how's it feel?" And Phil's like, "What?" And he's like, "To basically have all your little tricks not work." And Phil said, "What are you talking about? This is not over." It was not over. Phil came back and won that match. Then he won 2 other matches by playing amazing poker against Daniel. And Daniel's an amazing player. Don't get me wrong. Daniel is an amazing player. Then Nick Wright from Fox Sports 1 challenged Phil in the high stakes duel 3. And I watched that match, and Nick Wright just tried to play like junk. He just played a bunch of junk trying to win. And like get Phil invested in a hand where he would never see it coming, because like nobody ever plays a hand like that. That was like his whole strategy. And honestly, it was kind of working, but at a certain point, Phil kind of figured out that that's what was going on, and then just put the smackdown on him. So anyways, that put him at 7-0 in the high stakes duel. Then Tom Dwan came in, challenged him, and he actually won. But I think Tom Dwan is very good. Okay? Giving him his first loss. But whatever. Round 3, Hellmuth came back, took the win against Tom Dwan. Round 4, Scott Seaver stepped in. And he lost. Scott Seaver is an amazing player, but he couldn't take it down. And Phil Hellmuth had some bluffs in there. And then Jason Kuhn, he took he basically just, I think Phil didn't play the best poker during this match, unfortunately. And Jason Kuhn's very good, But I don't think Phil played his best game. Not like he played with Antonio, and not like he played with Daniel. You know what I mean? But whatever. You're not going to be able to play your absolute best every single time. But Phil is close to it. Phil is very close to it. He has a lot of passion for the game. Alright. Let's talk about some other shit here. So Phil Hellmuth is the winner of the 1989 WSOP main event as well as the 2012 WSOPE main event. His age. During the time when Phil Hellmuth won the 1989 main event, he was 24 years old, the youngest person in history to win at that time. So he broke a record right there by being the youngest guy to ever do it. Then, Phil Hellmuth is the only player in history to win both of the SOP and WSOPE main events. Earnings. Phil Hellmuth has earned over $18 million throughout his history at the World Series of Poker. And Phil Hellmuth has 215 cashers at the WSOP.